Yeah, good afternoon, students. I believe this is not my first time of meeting with you people, so I should not be seen as a new person to you. Uh, this course is titled POL224, uh, Political Ideas and Ideology. Today we are going to look at what is politics in Model 1 concept of politics and ideology. We're going to look at what is politics in our Unit 1. As students of political science, we know the word politics can never be seen as a new word. Politics is a word that is known to a lot of people. But purpose of this class, I want us to look at politics from this perspective. Politics is a messy business, often full of gray areas when one seeks clear answers to the problems of the moment. Harrison and Boyd, 2003. The problems of the moment are always the traditional concern of a political scientist. Politics, though a messy business, is intrinsic to human nature. Hence, the famous aphorism attributed to the renowned Greek political thinker Aristotle that man is by nature a political animal. One cannot be separated from politics. He is created to live in the society and interact with its other members. The objectives of this lecture is at the end of the day, in this unit, students should be able to define and distinguish between the concept of politics and ideology. Main content. Politics. It may at first sight seem superfluous or unnecessary to define politics. The word is in common use and everyone know what it means. Michael Oakeshott in Rationalism in Politics, 1962, emphasizes on the derivation of the word politics. Etymologically, politics is derived from the word politikin, Greek, and it refers to affairs of the state. This superficially straightforward definitions implies that there are some things which are not affairs of state, but belongs to the personal, private, or civil realm. This is a view that Oakeshott held. To him, personal and family life was the stuff of existence. Ordinary people rightly gave little attention to politics. Liberals, like the traditionalists, also identified a private space into which the state has no right to enter. An invasion of this private space by the state appears to leverage the essence of tyranny. In remarked contrast, Aristotle averred that man is by nature a political animal. Thus, it was completely inappropriate for a rational human being not to involve themselves fully in political matters. One can say that the politics is a non-word to the general public from this explanation. What is ideology? The analysis of ideology belongs properly in the discussion of the intelligences. One can say that what the priest is to religion, the intellectual is to ideology. Bell, 1961. Ideology is a system of definite views, ideas, conception, and notion adhered to by some class or political party. Ideology is always a reflection of the economic system predominant at any given time. In the words of Flametat, 1966, every thinker, even the most abstract, is deeply influenced by the circumstances of his day. The proliferation of ideologies, thinkers, and philosophers is likely due to fluidity and volatility of time. The vicissitude of the modern era encourages the display of and the expression of various ideas in the marketplace of ideas, from the most abstract to the most practical. The word ideology is said to have been coined by the French philosopher Antoine Destus. What is ideology? In concept, a careful study of what ideology is leads one to the conviction that it cannot be strictly understood as asserted by Marx and Marxists, who argue that ideology is a weapon of dominant class in a society to justify capitalist system at the detriment of the working class, that's proletarians. All said and done, scholars have defined ideology as follows. Ideology symbolizes the general principle that control the overall coherence of social representations shared by the members of a group. For instance, a racist ideology may control more specific attitudes about immigration or affirmative action. This 2006. It is the value or principles that those who exercise or seek political power refer in order to lend legitimacy to their acts. Rodi et al. 1976. Ideology is also viewed as the belief system that explains and justifies a preferred order for society, either existing or proposed, and offer a strategy for its attainment. A set of basic assumptions, both normative and empirical, about the nature and purpose of a society. Christensen et al. 1972. Summary. Politics and ideology are closely intertwined concepts that shape the way societies are governed and the beliefs and values that underpin this system. Politics refers to the activities, actions, and policies used to gain and hold power in a government or to influence the government. Ideology, on the other hand, refers to a set of ideas, beliefs, and values that guide political behavior and shape the way people understand and interpret the world. Different political ideologies, such as liberalism, conservatives, socialism, and nationalism, offer distinct perspectives on how political power should be distributed, the economic system should be structured, and social issues should be addressed. Conclusion. The study of politics and ideology is crucial for understanding how societies function and how power is exercised. Politics provides the mechanism through which decisions are made and policies are implemented, while ideology provides the framework through which individuals and groups interpret and evaluate these political processes. By critically analyzing different political ideologies and their impact, we can better comprehend the complexity of governance and strive for more inclusive and effective political system. Ultimately, understanding politics and ideology is essential for actively participating in the democratic process and shaping the future of our society. Module 2, political ideology. Introduction. In this module, students will learn the meaning of political ideology from various scholars' point of view, as well as the characteristics of political ideology. Objectives of this module. At the end of this unit, students should be able to define political ideology as well as its various characteristics. Main content, meaning of political ideology. Ideology is the most elusive concept in the whole of social sciences. MC Lela, 1986. It is problematic because of some issues which blew any attempt to conceptualize it, and also due to its many-sided nature. There is no one ideology. There are ideologies with different intrinsic values and functions in the society. However, from time to time, ideologies, despite their differences, overlap in the functions. Ideas is what Relay in 1990 called immaculate perceptions of an imperfect reality. Ideas about politics, he further explained, many range from the simple to the extraordinary complex. Ideologies occupy a special need of this, immaculate perceptions. At their various core, ideologies offer a means to understand, explain, and change political reality. Meaning of political ideologies. There are in other ways descriptive, prescriptive, and normative elements in political ideology. Beneath are some working definition of political ideology. Political ideology simply puts in politics in terms of ideas. It is a set of beliefs and ideas that one can apply onto politics and events. One's political moral code and worldview. It is a way to estimate one's view of the role of government in a society in both economic and social, moral, or religious affairs. Political ideology is primarily concerned with the temporary condition, bodies of thought mainly concerned with the divine are better terms, religion, though there clearly can be gray area between religion and ideology. This occurs when the religion feels it necessary to take on a more specific temporal role in the way that Islamic fundamentalism has done recently. It's why 1993. Characteristics of political ideology. There are many related concepts of political ideologies, yet there are some distinguishing features that are unique to political ideology in that it is aimed at studying, analyzing, interpreting, and the nature of politics. It does not stop at that. Political ideology describes how politics and the state is and prescribes how it should be. For an idea to become a political ideology, as not all ideas are ideologies, it has to possess some characteristics which relate 1990 summarized in 7 points. It has to be a number one, a coherent set of views on politics. Number two, expressed by intellectuals, elites. Number three, disseminated among the mass population. Number four, subject to alteration. Number five, susceptible to distortion and oversimplifications. Number six, powerful motivator of human behavior. Number seven, manipulated by political movement leaders. Summary. Political ideology refers to a set of beliefs, values, and principles that guide individual political behavior and shape their understanding of how society should be governed or organized. It provides a framework for interpreting political issues and offers a vision for the ideal political system. Political ideologies can be classified into various categories, such as liberalism, conservatism, socialism, and nationalism, each with its own distinct characteristics and principles. Conclusion. A study of political ideology helps us understand the diverse range of beliefs and values that shapes political behavior. It highlights the different ways in which individuals and groups envisions the organization of society, the role of government, and the distribution of power and resources. By examining the characteristics of various political ideologies, we can gain insight into the motivations and perspectives of different political actors. This understanding is crucial for fostering dialogue, promoting tolerance, and working towards more inclusive and equitable political system. Module 3, political ideology and political philosophy. Introduction. In this module, students will learn the major differences between political ideology and political philosophy. The left-right spectrum of political ideology, whose origin can be traced to France's political system. Furthermore, the module unveils the dominant ideologies such as nationalism, which was used by the European colonists to dominate and subjugate their colonies in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. This same ideology, that's nationalism, which literally translates into the feelings of love people have towards their countries, is also considered as an ideology of resistance used by the colonies to resist further domination and subjugation by their colonizers. Lastly, the model extracted and highlighted some ideologies that are restrictive due to consciousness and awareness. They are adherent, as well as some ideologies that are relaxed simply because their adherents are unconscious of its existence. Objective: at the end of this unit, students should be able to differentiate between political ideology and political philosophy, identify the left-right spectrum of political ideology and apply it to political analogy, identify non-dominant ideology and ideologies of resistance, identify restrictive that's restrictive that's main contents of it, differentiate between political ideology and political philosophy. These two terms, though used loosely interchangeably, have some fundamental differences. While ideology refers to a set of beliefs, doctrines that backs a certain social institution, particular organizations. Philosophy refers to looking at life in a pragmatic manner, attempting to understand why life is as is and the principle govern it. The left-right spectrum of political ideology. These terms are commonly used in the discourse on politics. It is so common that people often use them without a real grasp of what they mean. The application of left and right to politics was derived from the French Estates General 1989, chaired by King Louis. Delegates were divided into aristocratic members who sat at the right hand of the king and the revolutionary and populist members who sat to the left. Then the liberal moderate, thus the centrists, sat at the center. Each of these classes represent an ideology, ordered with the following characteristics. One, the aristocratic. Members of this group, also known as conservatives, sat at the right hand of the king and favors the maintenance of status quo. They stress patriotism, social discipline, traditional values, freedom and individuality as a higher political or growth equality. They oppose any attempt at power, decentralizing or truncation. This and a view of their support for the power that be, that's the monarchism or the monarchy. The left-right spectrum of political ideology, which is the revolutionary or populist. Members of this group, also known as the radical or anti-royalists to the left hand of the king, they represent the wishes and the opinions of the ordinary citizens, which advocate for the egalitarian society, which wealth will be equally distributed. The centrist or moderates, the center has somewhat different political values involving less inequality, a greater role for the state in helping individuals, a greater stress on freedom, and optimism about the possibility for improving human nature and society. Moderates are a blend or combination of both liberal and conservative ideas. They are more inclined to imperative or pragmatism rather than pure ideology. Hence, they are less concerned with the change. Dominant ideology and ideology of resistance. One can understand that ideology may be perceived as a tool used by dominant social groups to maintain and enhance their established power position in a struggle of ideas. Gramsci, 1921. Stress the important role of dominance or hegemonic or ideologies in capitalist societies as the means by which the dominant capitalist classes maintain their role. Dominant ideology permeate all aspects of society, from popular culture to the education system, from religion institution to sport. Such ideology legitimizes the political system and establish social system in the minds of the working classes and ensure that the slave is persuaded that he is free. The proletariat were their claims, the chains willingly. Proletariats wear their chains willingly, condemned to perceive reality through the conceptual spectacles of the ruling class. They are unable to recognize the nature or extent of their own servitude. C.J. Femi, Gramsci Political Thought, 1981. Restrictive and relaxed ideology. It would be wrong to assume that ideological beliefs are the same for all people. Ideological thinking, though, forms a part of all our waking thoughts. It is experienced differently. The degree or intensity of commitment to a set of ideological beliefs are not the same for all people. One can make a distinction between what might be called restrictive ideology thought, and relaxed ideological thought. Restrictive ideology are tightly argued body of ideas that logically hang together in a well constructed framework, as can be seen in the great texts of the ideological tradition that have shaped modern political life. Liberalism, conservatism, socialism, Marxism, fascism, and the other ideological tradition and movement all have a recognized body of literature expounding the main tenet of their ideological belief system. The term restrictive ideology conjures up or brings to mind the image of rigidity and bigotry in the ideological course. It does not necessarily describe some of the reasons associated with the political movement. Summary. Political ideology and political philosophy are two distinct concepts. Political ideology refers to a set of beliefs, values, and ideas that guide political decision making, while political philosophy explores broader theological and political questions about the nature of politics and governance. The left-right spectrum is a way of categorizing political ideologies based on their positions on social and economic issues. Dominant ideologies are those that hold significant influence in a society, while ideologies of resistance challenge the status quo. Restrictive ideologies favors limited government intervention, while relaxed ideologies advocate for more involvement. Conclusion. Political ideology and political philosophy are related but distinctive concepts. The left-right spectrum help categorize political ideologies based on their positions on social and economic issues. Dominant ideologies hold significant influence in society, while ideology of resistance challenge the status quo. Restrictive ideologies favor limited government intervention, while relaxed ideologies advocate for more government involvement. Understanding these differences is essential for comprehending the complexities of political system and various perspectives, and that shapes political decision making. Module 4, relevance of ideology. Introduction. This module will brace and equip the students with numerous importance and functions of political ideology, how ideologies are transmitted through various forms of socialization, and brief introduction note on ideologies and various typologies, which will prepare the minds of the students on the subsequent modules. Objectives. At the end of this unit, students should be able to, one, should be able to identify various ways in which ideologies are transmitted. Two, understand ideologies and various typologies. Importance and functions of ideology. Productions of political discourse. Productions of political discourse. Legitimization of leadership. Understanding the world. Continuous influence on politics. Competitiveness. Manipulation of public opinions. How ideologies are transmitted. It is true that ideologies are used to manipulate public opinions, which subsequently affect all aspects of society, family, political parties, and pressure groups, local, national, and international politics. One must not, however, think that ideologies emerge as part of a conspiracy by Machiavellian elites to brainwash the public. This would be far too naive and one-dimensional in understanding how ideologies develop. Ideologies are personally acquired and socially reproduced by the social practices of a group. Members of the elite in any society rise from that society and generally share the ideological and cultural values of most of its members. There is ideological elements in most aspects of culture. The elite themselves may not realize they are acting selfishly due to their general background, training, and upbringing. They may genuinely believe that their views are in the interest of all in the society. Many ideologies are acquired over many years and remain active for a lifetime of the group. There are many vehicles by which ideological values are transmitted to society. Yeah, they work as friends and mass media. They are friends and mass media, political parties, and other political and social institutions. Ideologies and various typologies. Under this rubric, we take a brief summary of different forms of political ideologies, their tenets, characteristics, influences, and plausibility. Ideologies are very important. They are accountable for many great events in history and are very instrumental or useful in turning around the world in terms of progress, fundamental changes, and development through revolution. For example, the American Revolution, French Revolution, Iranian Revolution, Cuban Revolution, Chinese Revolution, Haitian Revolution, Bolshevik and Russian Revolution, October Revolution, etc. This is not to say all ideologies are intrinsically good and progressive. There are ideologies which, in practical terms, are retrogressive and have reversed rather than consolidated some of the gains recorded in the history. Summary. Ideologies play a crucial role in politics by providing a framework of beliefs, values, and ideas that guide individuals and groups in their political decision making. They help shape policy preferences, influence political behavior, and create division within societies. Ideologies are transmitted through various channels, including education, media, political parties, and socialization process. Conclusion. Ideologies are important in politics as they provide a guiding framework for political decision making. They shape policy preferences and influence political behavior. Ideologies are transmitted through various channels, such as education, media, political parties, and socialization process. Understanding the importance and functions of ideologies and how they are transmitted is essential for comprehending the political system and the formation of public policies. Model 5, monarchism. This is the form of government in which, the history of the world in which the power lies on the hands of king. In this situation, the king or queen personify the state power and there is no legal limitation to their activities. Furthermore, the system is dynastic in nature, which means when the king or king died, the son will take over that continuous. Monarchy. This is a form of government headed by an individual who is not subject to any legal limitation and who rule the society or state according to his wishes, values, and preferences. Although he may occasionally choose to be guided by laws in administering the state, he is not legally required to do so and may do so only to lay a good example for his subject, particularly if it is under an absolute monarchy, who is believed to have divine power. That is, he derives his power from God, form of monarchy. But factually, there are two forms of monarchy, which are absolute monarchy and constitutional monarchy. Merit of monarchism: it promotes unity and underlines necessary to achieve stable political society. It is best suited to deal with emergency as the monarch does not need to consult widely before taking decision. It is best form of government to which citizens has not required conscience and capacity to govern themselves. Defects of monarchism: monarchism encourages despotism. The monarch may deploy institutions of the state to disempower his subjects and make them weak to resist his will. The monarch enjoys undue power and privileges under constitutional monarchy, which are supposed to be enjoyed by elected officials of the state. Liberalism as an ideology: this emerged in the 17th century with the demise or dissolution of feudal relations and emergence of capitalist society. It is in this sense that one agreed to assertion that liberalism is intricately linked with capitalism, at least in the sense that proponents of liberalism support private property accumulation. The main thrust of the ideology is the emphasis on the enjoyment of equal rights and freedom by individuals and the removal of all constraints to their political, economic, and religious activities. Liberalism advocates for a society that's open, tolerant, less penalist, and less authoritarian. There are two main schools of liberalism, namely the classic. Number two is what? The new or the social liberalism. Classical liberalism, which is the original version of the ideology, laid emphasis on the doctrines of individualism, which can be defined as a political and moral doctrine which extols the value of the individual human being. Social liberalism is a critique of classical liberalism. It describes the emphasis placed by liberalism on the individual as against the society as moral and sociological naive. The good of individual is tied to that of the whole society. Liberalism and the economy. Classical liberals values the principle of laissez-faire, not intervention of free market economy. This principle entails freeing the market to the forces of demand and supply, which not only determines price of goods, but also the access of the people to the goods. Social liberalism, however, criticized the market logic or economy and advocated for state interventions, which recognize the equal right of every citizen to enjoy basic economic, political, and cultural resources. Liberalism and the state. There is a sharp division between the classical and social school of liberalism as regards the role of the state in the political community. Classical liberalism is committed to a minimal state, that is, state limited only to the task of internal order and external defense. The argument here is to widen the scope of the state, make it accountable for its action, as well as ensuring that it favors. Therefore, the state should not concern itself with helping the poor, providing social services, providing public utilities. Criticism of liberalism. Liberalism, particularly classical version, have been criticized for its high emphasis on sacrifices on the individual against society that has prevented liberalism from letting any clear concept of social life. Liberalism is full of illusion and contradiction. It advocates freedom and right to individuals who may not be able to use them. Freedom and equality are not useful to an individual who is hungry at all. Furthermore, while liberalism is interested in legal equality, it frowns at equality of property of power. It does not reconcile with the fact that unequal ownership of property can lead to unequal access to power. Liberalism can no longer take its pristine pure character in contemporary world. Most of its preaching had been built in socialism. Democracy. This is a concept that does not lend itself to a single definition. It has been conceptualized in various places as a concept, as a process, as a form of government. Democracy as a concept can be defined as a rule through the electionary process. The implication of this is that those who manage public affairs under a democratic regime derive their authority from the continuous will of the people, apart from the fact that under democracy is based on the continuous will of the people. It allows for active participation of the people in the political process, which enables them to have access to power and decision-making process. All democratic regimes are expected to promote the welfare, respect, and dignity of the man. Democracy as a system of government originated from the Greeks, particularly the Hellenic Greek, conceived democracy as the rule of power of the people. They regard democracy as a government in which citizens access to public office and participation in the democratic dimension were enjoyed by everybody in the political community and not exclusive by few. Democracy. People are, however, at liberty to vote their representatives out of power during the regularly conducted election if the representatives are not performing to their expectation. The following are some of the principles of democracy. 1. Periodic, free and fair election. 2. Universal suffrage. 3. Representative government, as well as number 4. Accountability of the leaders to the followership. Promises of democracy. Democracy guarantees liberty and freedom for the people of the political community. Democracy promotes political equality. All eligible citizens are free to contest all offices, while every citizen has only one vote during elections. Democracy compares responsive and responsible government, since those who are given a mandate of the people are leaders. Drawback of democracy. The hope and optimism held out by democracy have been dashed. Democracy has not delivered on its main political and economic policies, particularly in the third world. Third world regimes are reproducing policies and programs that continues to disempower the people political will, while at the same time worsening their material conditions. Many of the rights that democracy prides itself to concentrate on the people are not only abstract, but are not meaningfully enjoyed by the people. The Mediterranean principle in democracy may engender or produce Mediterranean tyranny, which may lead to the suppression of minority rights and non-protection to minority interests. Election and democracy. Election is very central on the principles and practice of democracy all over the world. Since the birth of the modern state, elections has offered a way through which the people exercise their rights to determine their rules. The bottom line of election is that it offers choice to electorate who can choose between two or several alternatives. Condition for free and fair election. Independent judiciary to interpret the electoral laws, and honest, competent, and non-partisan electoral body. A developed system of political parties well organized to put their programs and candidates before the electorate. A general acceptance throughout the political community of certain rules of the game which limit the struggle for power. Socialism. In this system, there are two schools of thought, which are one, revolutionary school and evolutionary school. Socialism, this is an ideology. It's essentially a post-French Revolution phenomenon of 1989 when masses rose against the state, which there is some argument as to where the ideology actually first emerged. There's consensus that the word socialism appeared a scholarly cycle in Britain in 1927 and in France 1932. Socialism may be defined as a political and social idea aimed at collective organization of the political community in the overall interest of the masses. This is attached to the common ownership and collective control of the means of production and distribution. The central thought of socialism is anchored on public or state ownership of all industries and lands within the state with the aim of administering them for the interest or common good of the society as against the interest of few privileged people. Socialism, a protest movement against capitalism. Socialism. There are two major schools of socialism namely revolutionary socialism and evolutionary socialism. The revolutionary class argued that it required revolution or direct action for socialism to dislodge capitalism. The revolutionary school argued that society is divided into classes, that is, the capitalist and the proletariat, and that the claims and interests of these two irreconcilably, they see the modern state have been dominated by the capitalists who use the state to continually service their interests. They argue that a social evolution is inevitable as the future development of capitalism will witness increased concentration of capital in fewer and fewer hands. The evolutionary school is on its part argues that constitutional methods are more feasible strategies of societal change and they also have more lasting effect. Their school believes in the efficacy of a democracy. Communism. Communism is an ancient idea centered on the common ownership of goods. It is first recorded in an ancient Greek thought, most notably in Plato's existence of the good society, the Republic written 2,500 years ago. Later, some of the early Christian communities believing in the imminent return of Christ and the creation of the kingdom of heaven on earth actually held their goods in common. The chief inspiration of communism is morality. That is, the abandonment of private goods and property is expected to give rise to a social harmony and bring conflict to its need. Communism, a modern concept, is essentially Marxism in practice. While Marxism is theoretical, communism is the practical democracy of Marxism production. For us, that are both complexing mixture of theory and practice, explained in 1993. Communism. The philosophy of communism stands for the poor in the society, therefore, it is in the representative of the poorer strata. Put it differently, communism is an ideology which cardinal objectives are advocacy for the poor, abolition of classes, and unification of cultures, which are believed to be the handicap's of crisis in every clime and time. For the Marxists, all history is the history of class struggle. The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggle. An assessment of Marxism and communism. Workers, according to classical Marxists, will not be able to improve their living standards simply through collective action. Because the iron law of wages always keep them at or near subsistence level. The state as a tool of the bourgeoisie could not possibly pass and enforce legislation of primary benefit for the proletariat, nor could the state, a mere reflection of economic forces, intervene to mitigate the anarchy of the capitalist market through regulation of demand or investment. On all these points, the Marxists were wrong, argues Femi 122 to 123. In it ironic, it is ironic that a worldview which claims to be vindicated by history should now be buried by history. Summary: Marxism is a socio-political theory developed by Karl Marx that advocates for a classless society where the means of production are owned collectively. Socialism, on the other hand, is a broader ideology that seeks to create a more equitable society through the collective ownership and control of resources. Marxism is often associated with the communism, a political system that aims to establish a classless and stateless society. The assessment of Marxism and socialism varies, with proponents emphasizing their potentials for social justice and critics highlighting concerns about economic inefficiency and lack of individual freedom. Conclusion: Marxism and socialism are ideologies that aim to create a more equitable society through collective ownership and control of resources. Marxism is often associated with communism, which is established a classless and stateless society. The assessment of Marxism and the various proponents highlighting their potentials for social justice, while critics expresses concern, economic issues, and lack of individual freedom. Module 6. Introduction. The module will expose the students to the conservative ideology, its proponents, basic assumptions, as well as criticism leveled against the ideology by some other ideologies like Marxism and liberalism. At the end of this module, the students are expected to have an in-depth understanding of the conservative ideology, understanding the main ideology of conservatism, and be able to logically criticize the ideology. Main content: conservatism and basic features. The term conservatism was first used in the modern sense to indicate a political position opposed to ideological politics in order to resist the spread of the new politics or democracy inspired by the French Revolution. It is a reaction to liberalism at first, then nationalism, socialism, fascism, feminism, environmentalism, all of which sought change with massive social improvements, reforms, and the removal of all discredited social orders, institutions, and ways of life during the early period of the industrialization in Britain and Europe. Conservatism sought and still seeks to resist such change, to restart change, argue for reflections as reassessment, and a willingness to consider the possibility that the reformers may be mistaken. They believe that one should be very cautious about removing or radically changing old and long-lasting institutions and ways of life. Harrison and Boyd. Conservatism. Here under are some of the features of conservatism as identified by Harrison and Boyd. 1. A permissivistic view of human nature, an organic view of society, a view of politics as a limited activity, a belief in patriotism, an emphasis on law, freedom, and authority. Criticism of the conservatism. Despite the electoral success of the British Conservative Party during the 19th and 20th centuries and the relative political stability which characterized most traditional institutions in African society, Nigeria included, critics of conservatism argue that it is simply a political instrument of the haves and the have-not, against the have-not. The fact that it has successfully obscured conservatism is often claimed by conservative not to be an ideology, but rather the political based on doing what is best. Summary. Conservatism is a political ideology that emphasizes traditional values, institutions, and gradual change. It assumes that society is complex and that stability and order are essential for social cohesion. Conservatism is often critical of rapid social change and advocate for the preservation of established norms and institutions. However, it has faced criticism for potentially perpetuating inequality, resisting necessary social progress, and being resistant to change. Conclusion. Conservatism is a political ideology that values tradition, stability, and gradual change. It assumes that society is complex and emphasizes the importance of preserving established norms and institutions. However, conservatism has faced criticism for potentially perpetuating inequality, resisting necessary social progress, and being resistant to change. Understanding the rise of assumption and criticism of conservatism is essential for assessing its impact on the social political system. Module 8, Nationalism. Introduction. In this module, we will explore the concept of nationalism, its underlying assumption, and how it can be assessed. Nationalism is a powerful force that shapes societies and policies around the world. Understand its complexity is crucial for comprehending contemporary global dynamics into the assumption and assessment of nationalism. We aim to equip students with complete understanding of this ideology and its implications. Objective. By the end of this module, students should be able to, one, define nationalism and key characteristics and identify and analyze the assumption underlying nationalism, including notions of identity, culture, and sovereignty. Evaluate the positive and negative impact of nationalism on society, politics, and international relations, and understand the typologies of nationalism, such as civic and ethnic nationalism, and their implications. Assess the role of nationalism in shaping historical events and contemporary issues, and analyze and discuss the challenges and criticism faced by nationalism, including issues of exclusion, discrimination, and potential conflict. Develop analytical and critical thinking skills to assess the impact of nationalism, society and political system. Main point, nationalism and basic features. Nationalism is not a straightforward ideology. It can wear many faces, display many forms. It can be a conservative, a fascist, liberal, socialist, and even Marxist ideology. Several political ideologies have used nationalism for their ends. Nationalism has some unique features which set it apart from other ideologies. A not it is not a Western concept, nor it is not a modern one. It is an antique ideology that existed since the prehistoric era and enjoys the aura of universality. Be that as may, it is one of the most powerful ideologies of all time, and perhaps the most prevailing one of the last couple of centuries. Modern nationalism is a powerful sentiment. Whether it is good or bad depends on how we are able to organize and use it for constructive ends. First, it rescued the world from the monotony of universal empire because the universal empire suppresses all forms of political progress, including universal reign of peace, which means in the long run, stagnations and nepotism. Uh, Secondly, are unified by natural sentiments are always more stable, and their laws are always better states that are only held together by subjection to a common polity. Typologies of nationalism: liberal nationalism, reactionary nationalism, radical nationalism. Assessment of nationalism from the internationalist perspective. Nationalism is irrelevant in a world where problems transcend national boundaries and must be addressed on a global basis. Liberals, liberals see it as an impediment to greater international cooperation and integration. So are the conservatives, who are averse that nationalism disrupts the society, the social order. A socialist, like a Marxist, believe nationalism is at best a diversion from the class struggle, at worst a weapon used by the exploiters to divide the international working class. Nationalism remains a force for division and repression. It might have it might have a rising out of the century, but it represents the dark alternative to the nationalism of the Enlightenment. Summary: nationalism is a political ideology that emphasizes the interest and identity of a particular nation or group of people. It can be categorized into civic nationalism, which emphasizes shared and values and citizenship, and ethnic nationalism, which focuses on shared ancestry and cultural heritage. Nationalism can have both positive and negative effects, as it, as it can foster a sense of unity and pride among citizens, but it can also lead to exclusion, discrimination, and conflict. Conclusion: nationalism is a political ideology that prioritizes the interests and identity of a particular nation or group of people. It can be categorized into civic and ethnic nationalism. While nationalism can foster unity and pride, it can also lead to exclusion and conflict. Assessing the impact of nationalism requires considering its positive aspects, such as promoting national identity and solidarity, as its negative consequences, such as potential discrimination and conflict. Understanding technologies and assessment of nationalism is crucial for evaluating its roles in society's system. Module 9: Introduction. Feminism. Introduction. This module will delve into the multifaceted world of feminism, exploring its underlying assumptions, different strands, and methods of assessment. Feminism is a powerful social and political movement that seeks to address the gender inequality and dismantle patriarchal oppression. Understanding the assumptions that underpin feminism, the various strands with the how, and to assess its impact is crucial for promoting gender equality and social justice. Objectives: by the end of this module, students should be able to define feminism and its core objectives, including the pursuits of gender equality and challenging patriarchal norms. Identify and analyze the assumptions that underlie feminism, such as the recognition of gender-based discrimination and the need for societal change. Understand the different strands of feminism, including liberal feminism, radical feminism, and intersectional feminism, and their unique approaches to addressing gender inequality. Analyze and discuss the criticisms and debates surrounding feminism, including concerns about potential inclusion, division, or backlash. Develop critical thinking skills to engage in informed discussion or feminism impact for society, as well as to contribute to ongoing effort towards gender equality. Meaning and assumption of feminism. Meaning, feminism, one of the most recent ideologies to emerge, attempts to analyze the social position of women, explain their apparent subsidiary role in history, and offer the basic for reform and the advancement of women in all areas of society. Feminists believe that there is a fundamental power struggle between men and women. Thus, this, like the struggle around class and race, is potentially revolutionary. Indeed, it is the oldest power struggle, the least public in its manifestation of conflict, the most fundamental in its implication for society. Yearnings and rivers of the feminists are contained in the New York Stockings Manifesto 1969. Women are an oppressed class. Our oppression is total, affecting every facet of our lives. We are exploited as sex objects, breeders, domestic servants, and cheap laborers. We are considered as we are considered as being we are considered as being whose only purpose is to enhance men's life. Our humanity is denied. We identify agents of our oppression as men. Male supremacy is the oldest, most basic form of doing men receive economic, social, and psychological benefit from male supremacy. All men oppress women. Strand and assessment of feminism. After all is said and done, feminists do not agree on what their differences are and how to go about it. Hence, there are four different major strands of feminist thinking identified as follows: liberal feminism, socialist feminism, conservative feminism, and radical feminism. Assessment of feminism. Feminism has indeed demystified some of the widely held stereotypes about women humanity. It has liberated women, especially the middle class women of the developed part of the world, from what is thought as wrongful domination of men. Feminism, however, is not considered as an ideology because feminists are yet to float a political party. In addition, all attempts to put equality to men or create an empire of political lesbianism can only be best imagined as a wishful thinking. Summary: feminism is a social and political movement that advocates for gender equality and the dismantling of the patriarchal structure. It challenges traditional assumptions about gender roles and seeks to address issues such as gender-based discrimination, violence against women, and unequal access to opportunities. Feminism comprises various strands, including liberalism, feminism, radical feminism, and intersectional feminism, each with different approaches and focus. Conclusion: feminism is a social and political movement that aims to achieve gender equality and challenge patriarchal structures. It challenges traditional assumptions about gender roles and seeks to address issues such as discrimination and violence against women. Feminism encompasses different strands such as liberal, radical, and intersectional feminism, each with distinct approaches. Assessment feminism vary, with supporters emphasizing its role in promoting social justice and gender, while critics may question its method or objectives. Thank you. Today we're going to stop at module 9. We will meet the next class. Thank you so much.